Chair recognizes Ms. Luna from Florida for 5 minutes.
Pretty appalling to hear some of these crime stats from some of my colleagues, but in reading some of your testimony, Mayor, and then also just hearing the back and forth, I realized that you have actually been more pro-law enforcement than your city council. And I think there's no clear really example of that with what happened recently with the DC Council's decision to rewrite the city's criminal code, which thank goodness was overturned. But obviously what Americans want is effective leadership in their nation's capital, and that understanding the experience of residents and visitors is incredibly important, not just leaders that are apparently out of touch with issues plaguing the city. Mayor Bowser, I wanted to ask you why it is that you think your city council is working so hard against you to ensure the safety of residents and visitors.
I think our city council is concerned about safety of residents and visitors. It won't surprise anybody that we have philosophical differences. My views on how to make the city safer are well known, and I believe that they were affirmed by voters last year in bringing me back for a third term. But I also think that Americans are having these discussions in cities and towns all across our country. And what I hear them telling me when I go to visit places, they're not really concerned about my city council or me, but they do want to make sure that Washington is working. And when I say that, I'm talking about federal Washington.
But my question is more so focusing right now in that I have constituents that come up, like some of my colleagues had mentioned, and they don't feel safe walking around. I didn't feel safe walking around. And when you had a fellow member of Congress that was brutally attacked by someone that had a criminal record that was obviously showing that this person was disturbed, and then you had the failure of prosecution for that. That, to me, does not signify a safe city. In fact, we're looking and we're seeing that sexual abuse offenses have increased over 48% in just 1 year's time frame from 2022 to 2023. My next question would be for you, Mr. Graves, just as a personal understanding. I understand you're married, yes?
I'm sorry, I missed a lot.
I understand that you're married?
Yes.
Okay, and you have children?
Yes.
So I would assume that you are against violence against women.
Yes, of course.
So my question for you is, there's been many concerns brought up by my colleagues that you have actively chosen to ignore certain cases, and as a result of that, it's impacting people that ultimately are relying on you to do your job in order to make them feel safe. In the instance of my colleague that was attacked, I mean, my goodness, she's coming downstairs from her apartment. You have a crazy man that goes in, has a criminal history, should have been locked up prior, and yet he wasn't. And I just want to know why, because I understand that if that was your wife or that was your child, I assume that you would have pressed charges. Would you have not?
So I understand the concern for the community and keeping all of our fellow community members safe. We are prosecuting the individual you're referencing.
But he had a track record, and he was allowed back on the streets, and those actions that were taken against him were clearly not done in a way that caused him to understand that he can no longer do that. This person was a disturbed individual. He should have been given a more harsher sentence. My question is would you have allowed that to happen if that was your wife or your child? Yes or no?
So
Is a yes or no?
So it's not a yes or no question.
It is a yes or no, because you have people that are directly being impacted and hurt by these people, and you're failing to do your job. Just like Representative Bigg had asked you for your perspective on a case where someone was obviously being charged with a more harsher sentence than they deserved, and yet you're sitting here trying to argue that when people clearly don't feel safe. People are arguing about statehood. Statehood, fine, if a city can actually manage cases, but the city can't even prosecute adolescents' cases. And that is your responsibility. So I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but what I am asking is for you to do your job and make people feel safe, especially those that are depending on you to do it. When you see cases of, 48% increase in sexual assault cases, my goodness.
So
That's it. I've heard enough. Chairman, I yield my time.
Congresswoman,
Thank you.
Congresswoman, may I address your question about sexual abuse? I know the chief wants to talk about it.
We only have 26 seconds left. But
We do have a lot to say about that, and when time allows.
I will contact your office.
Thank you.